Hello everyone, and welcome to Dr. Bonechill. Before we dive in, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss what's coming. Also tell me, where in the world are you watching from? And is it dark outside yet? My grandmother always unplugged her phone before bed. Not just silenced it, physically disconnected it from the wall. As a child, this seemed like one of her many quirky habits, like covering all the mirrors at night or refusing to sleep with her closet door open. "Why do you unplug the phone, Grandma?" I asked one night while staying over. She looked at me for a long moment, as if deciding whether I was old enough for the truth. "Because sometimes," she finally whispered, "the midnight caller dials wrong numbers." I laughed, but she didn't join me. "It happened to your grandfather," she continued, her voice dropping lower. "November 1972. He answered a call at exactly midnight. I was half asleep, but I heard him say, 'Wrong number,' before hanging up. When he came back to bed, something was different about him." She described subtle changes at first, the way he held his fork, his sudden dislike of the dog, how he'd sometimes stare at her for hours without blinking. Within a week, he stopped speaking altogether. By Thanksgiving, he was gone. The police never found him. I dismissed her story as the imagination of a grieving widow until the night I stayed up late in my college dorm. My roommate had gone home for the weekend. At exactly midnight, my phone rang, displaying unknown number. Half remembering my grandmother's warning, but dismissing it as superstition, I answered. Silence at first, then a sound like many voices whispering simultaneously, creating a hissing static. I almost hung up when one voice became clearer. "Is Andrew there?" it asked, the voice oddly flat, as if reading from a script. "Wrong number," I replied automatically. A pause, then, "Are you sure?" "This is Andrew's number." Something about the voice raised goosebumps on my arms. "No Andrew here, goodbye." "Wait," it said. "What's your name?" I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. Unknown number. I silenced it. It rang again, and again. I finally shut my phone off completely. When I turned it on the next morning, I had 37 missed calls, all from different numbers, all between midnight and 3 a.m. That day, I called my grandmother and apologized for ever doubting her. She asked one question. "Did you give it your name?" "No," I answered. She exhaled with relief. "Don't ever answer calls at midnight," she warned, "especially when you're alone." I've followed that rule religiously for 10 years. But last night, my wife answered our home phone at midnight while I was in the shower. When I came out, she was sitting on the edge of our bed, perfectly still, staring at the wall. "Who was that?" I asked. She turned to me with a smile that wasn't quite right. "Wrong number," she said, in a voice that wasn't entirely hers. They were asking for someone named Andrew. I'm typing this from a hotel room across town. I haven't slept. My phone has been ringing every hour on the hour. Unknown number. And I just realized something that made my blood freeze. My grandfather's name was Andrew. The phone in this hotel room is ringing now. It's midnight. The caller ID says Andrew calling. I know I shouldn't answer, but it just keeps ringing. The warnings about the solar eclipse seem standard. Don't look directly at it without proper eyewear. Prepare for traffic congestion. Expect cellular disruptions. But Mr. Holloway, my eccentric high school science teacher, added one more. Whatever you do, don't blink during totality. We laughed it off as one of his many peculiarities. The man also believed in Bigfoot and kept a Faraday cage in his basement. Eclipse day arrived with perfect weather. Our small Oregon town fell directly in the path of totality, and the entire community gathered in the high school football field. As the moon began its journey across the sun, the usual excitement rippled through the crowd. Temperatures dropped. Shadows sharpened into strange crescent shapes. Birds went silent. Then came totality, that breathtaking moment when the moon fully covers the sun, revealing the ethereal corona. I remembered Holloway's odd warning, and partly as a joke, and partly from curiosity, forced myself to keep my eyes open behind my eclipse glasses. The crowd gasped collectively as darkness fell. But I noticed something strange. In the instant that everyone around me blinked, a natural reaction to the sudden darkness. They seemed to flicker, like frames missing from a film. When light returned seconds later, everything seemed normal. Almost. My mother, standing beside me, had her hair parted on the opposite side. My best friend Sam's birthmark had moved from his right cheek to his left. Small details were wrong everywhere I looked, but nobody else seemed to notice. I spotted Mr. Holloway across the field, staring directly at me with an expression of pity. Later that day, I cornered him in his classroom. What happened during the eclipse? Why is everything slightly wrong? He sighed deeply. You didn't blink, did you? He explained his theory. During a total eclipse, when our world is caught between light and darkness, the boundary between parallel realities thins. In the moment of totality, a blink acts as a reset, keeping you anchored to your reality. Those who don't blink slip between worlds, into a universe nearly identical to our own, but with subtle differences. How do I get back? I demanded. You don't, he said simply. This is your reality now. The differences are minor. You'll adjust. But they weren't all minor. My dog didn't recognize me. My bedroom furniture was arranged differently. My father called me by a slightly different nickname. And Mr. Holloway, when I went to confront him again the next day, the school secretary looked at me strangely. We haven't had a Mr. Holloway at this school in over 20 years, she said, showing me a memorial plaque on the wall. It displayed his photo and the date of his death during a solar eclipse in 1979. Yet I found a journal in the library archives written in his handwriting containing observations of dozens of eclipses and the differences he noticed afterward. The final entry was addressed to those who didn't blink, with a list of subtle identifiers to recognize others like us. I've connected with 17 of them so far. We all see the differences. We all remember our original world. And we've all noticed something else. The people here blink too much, their smiles linger too long, and sometimes when they think no one is watching, their movements become jerky and unnatural. The next eclipse is in 6 months. Mr. Holloway's journal suggests that blinking during that totality might send us home, or somewhere worse. I still don't know if I'll chance it, because the most terrifying part isn't the differences I've noticed. It's that people from this world have started noticing differences about me. I've been a rideshare driver in Chicago for 3 years. Late nights, early mornings, I've seen it all. Drunk college students, fighting couples, even a woman in labor once. But nothing prepared me for what happened last month. It was just after 2 a.m., raining hard. I was about to call it a night when I got a pickup request from a remote area near Rose Hill Cemetery. Ordinarily, I might have declined, but the surge pricing was too good to pass up. I arrived at the pickup point, an old house with no lights on. After waiting 5 minutes, I was about to cancel when a figure suddenly appeared beside my car. They wore a dark raincoat with the hood up, face hidden in shadow. I unlocked the doors. The passenger slid into my back seat without a word. Cold air seemed to pour in with them, dropping the temperature in my car by 10 degrees. Heading to Clark Street, right? I asked, checking the app. No response. In my rearview mirror, I could only see darkness beneath the hood. I drove in uncomfortable silence. The rain intensified, drumming against the roof, while the windshield kept fogging despite the defroster. About halfway to our destination, I hit a pothole, jolting the car. I heard something heavy slide across my back seat. Sorry about that, I said, glancing in the rearview mirror again. This time I caught a glimpse under the hood. There was no face, just empty darkness where features should be. My hands tightened on the wheel. I told myself it was just the poor lighting, the late hour, my tired eyes. Then came the smell, like wet soil and something metallic, something decaying. Everything okay back there? My voice cracked slightly. A whisper answered, so faint I almost missed it beneath the rain. Just drive past Clark Street. I swallowed hard. But the app says, I need to go farther, the voice interrupted. It sounded wrong, like multiple voices speaking almost in unison. To the lake. Every instinct told me to stop the car, to get out, to run. But we were on a deserted stretch of road, rain pouring down, at least a mile from anywhere open. The app only has Clark Street listed, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. The figure leaned forward. I felt cold breath on the back of my neck. The lake is where I was found, the whisper came again. My body in 1954. I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded on the wet road, hydroplaning briefly before stopping. In the sudden silence, I turned around slowly. The back seat was empty. The door remained closed, yet my passenger was gone. Only a puddle of water remained, mixed with something dark that looked uncomfortably like mud from a grave. I sped home, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it all. But when I checked the app, the ride was still active. The destination had changed from Clark Street to Montrose Harbor on Lake Michigan. The next day, morbid curiosity led me to research deaths at the lake. In August 1954, the body of a young woman was found at Montrose Harbor, a suspected murder victim. She'd been wearing a dark raincoat. The case was never solved. I deleted the rideshare app that day, found a day job waiting tables. But every night when it rains, my phone receives a notification, even though the app is gone. Jane is requesting a ride, and sometimes from the corner of my eye, I see a hooded figure in my back seat. I've moved apartments twice, changed my phone. Nothing helps. Last night, it rained again. This time I received a text message from an unknown number. I'm still waiting for my ride to the lake. I have something to show you there. Something beneath the water. I'm writing this from my car, parked at Montrose Harbor. The rain is falling harder now. My phone just dinged with another message. Look in your back seat. I don't want to turn around, but I can smell wet soil and something metallic behind me, and feel cold breath on the back of my neck. Thanks for joining me here at Dr. Bonechill. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay safe.